When you think of a weapons platform that's 20 years old, do you think of the SCAR? Well, you should. Developed in 2004 and fielded in 2009, the SCAR made a name for itself for rugged reliability and performance. Today on Administrative Results, we're going over such weapon. On the YouTube platform, there is a large ocean of SCAR 17 content already. So you're probably wondering, hey dummy, why should I have to care about what you have to say about the SCAR 17? And to be honest, you shouldn't. I'm just a dude on the internet. You should take everything I say and do with a grain of salt. But I think the SCAR is really cool, and I wanted to undertake this journey because I have a weird love for battle rifles. I think they are heckin' neat. And I wanted to see if I could build out a kit, see what it was like, and see what all the hype was around the SCAR 17. Bam! See that? I just ambushed a guy in the toilet drinking his coffee, eating his beer, because he wasn't liking and subscribing, as you will be now that I've put the fear of the SCAR gods inside of you. In all seriousness, I do appreciate the comments. They are usually pretty funny, and I read them when I'm on the toilet too, so I appreciate that. Now, this video may be rather long, so I want to give a quick TLDR. SCAR is good, it's expensive, it does the job. Okay, now we can truly get into the video. My Arrakis was so beautiful at sunset, until they came. The brass harvesters. Seeking to gain their wealth to power the Emperor's warship with used brass. They filled my range, my home. Now we fight, waging war on the brass harvesters. But it is a costly war. Many of us perish.
Taking objective Charlie!
Trying to carry a Gustav like this is retarded. I don't know, it's a video game. They get away with it in a video game. Gentlemen, I am a big proponent of physicality and physical fitness. Now, one thing that can help you keep safe while engaging in the physicality nature of things is Arrowhead Tactical, an apparel company leading the charge in athletic apparel with the focus on self-defense. Their shorts have a nice thick waistline where you can use their belt and integrate it along with your everyday carry. If you want to stay comfy in hotter weather, me being in Arizona, I appreciate another option that I can use when it comes to concealed carrying. More option, better. I like that. I like that a lot. Of course, they don't just have shorts, but a litany of other things such as joggers and t-shirts and belts. A big thank you to Arrowhead Tactical for helping us keep the air conditioning off in my garage. It's never been on. It's really hot in here. Now, what is a battle rifle? I'll give you my admin's dummy version of a battle rifle. It's a full rifle cartridge and a semi-automatic platform. That's what it is to me, right? We have the assault rifle, which is technically an intermediate cartridge and a full auto weapon. That's what they call assault rifles. Not to be confused with assault weapons. Assault weapons is a made-up term by politicians that want to take away your rifles in general.
We want to ban assault weapons, and they want to ban books.
The battle rifle has been around since pretty much World War I. There has been semi-automatic variants of certain rifles ever since then, and I would say the battle rifle probably had its golden era post-World War II in the Cold War early days. And I'm talking about guns like the G3, iconic battle rifle, FAL, giant fly buzzing me like a pterodactyl, also the M14. Now, a lot of these guns would end up going the way of the dodo thanks to the 5.56 round, and the US using it like crazy with the M16 in Vietnam. The common consensus consensus in Vietnam was soldiers carry more ammo, have more bullets, can do the gunfight longer. And that has been the general consensus ever since. Now, there was this thing where 2 planes hit a tower and we got launched into the global war on terror. And during that, troops in Afghanistan developed a need for more distance out of their small arms. The M4 wasn't cutting it in the wide ranges of the Afghan mountains, and they wanted something with some more ass behind it. Now, the weapons that they had at the time were kind of dated. Yeah, they had some M14s and they had the EBR chassis, but it just wasn't cutting the cheddar. Those guns are pretty heavy in themselves, and if you have to hump all that gear around, already at the cost of ammo, it's not that great. So SOCOM put out a request, and the SCAR came about because of that. Development started in 2004, and they were fielded in April of 2009. A lot of the SCARs fielded by the Ranger Bat. Now, they also had the SCAR L and the SCAR 17. The SCAR L, interesting gun, very beloved. What is this fly doing? Now, the SCAR L is a very interesting gun. It's, of course, beloved by many. I'm not a big SCAR L guy. I have since come to rather enjoy the SCAR H, but the SCAR L would eventually get phased out because it's just hard to beat that AR platform, especially with more parts for the AR-15, like the Daniel Defense rails coming out, making them better. With the SCAR L's kind of getting phased out, the SCAR H remained to stay even until this day. There are still SCAR H's in gear rooms, I would assume in a lot of military branches, for the high-speed guys at least as well. I even talked to a Green Beret in preparation for this video, and they said they still have the SCAR H lying about. The SCAR H really showed its worth. Now, the real thing the SCAR H had in value was its lightweight capabilities. A lot of those guys, when they were humping around Afghanistan, I would assume, wanted to save weight on the gun and didn't want to have to carry a massive 7.62 platform. There was another platform that was very popular, being the Knights Armament M110 SAS, the semi-automatic sniper system. That gun is a very cool firearm, but compared to a SCAR, it's also a rather large gun, and I would say that one is much more intended to be a DMR style role / sniper role. Whereas the SCAR, a little bit more flexible in what it's doing. You can have the shorter barrel with a more of a salter approach for hitting compounds if you're one of those high-speed cool guys in the global war on terror. Now, if we step back from that as a concerned citizen, where does that leave us with the SCAR 17? Well, it leaves us with a very lightweight platform chambered in 7.62, and there's a lot of benefits that come with that. To demonstrate this penetrative power, we have 124 grain AAC out of a Staccato. Fired 3 rounds, none of the rounds penetrated the back of the cement block. All right, up next we have 77 grain AAC out of a 16-inch rifle. 2 rounds, go check it out. First round hit pretty close to dead center on the block. Second round penetrated. Second round penetrated, but it did not just blow through the back. It did, however, crack the back. Lastly, 168 grain from the SCAR 17. Okie dokie. That put the kibosh on that. What? Bigger bullet did more damage? What? To absolutely nobody's surprise, we have melted the cinder block. Behold, nothing. What once was cover for you has now been reclassified to concealment for me. Astonishing. Now I understand that we're technically fighting from extreme CQB distances. Okay, that's fine. You never know where you're gonna find yourself in the Great LARP when I'm besieging the HOA. Now you can clearly see this brick wall.
I don't see much of nothing. As a matter of fact, I can't even see you, sir.
Now, if you've never been to Arizona, you may not be familiar with the ocean of brick walls that surround your local HOA Axis Powers fortress. But in Arizona, especially in the Valley of Phoenix, there are a ton of these style of brick walls. So that's why the ballistic test is involved with those style of cement bricks. It's a very clear and present example I could pull from my reality to show off to you guys. Now, you may live in a different state or you may live in a different area that doesn't have this at all. So it may not apply, but for me, I think it's a fun and interesting test to know what sort of barrier penetration you may have with your surroundings. Okay. The split rig is my downfall as far as like driving with kid on. The SCAR's not doing too bad. It folds up, I kind of rest it between my legs. But say you're not gonna be doing like great defensive driving in this posture, but it works for like just cruising. Defensive driving tactics. Buzzwords. What was my goal when building out the SCAR 17 and undergoing this journey? Well, the goal was to build more so of a battle rifle than a DMR. Now, to the uninitiated scholar, there may be some confusion. You may just think, oh, battle rifle may just be DMR in this day and age when it comes to the world of intermediate cartridges because gun is bigger, has better ballistics. Well, there are still units out there in foreign militaries that run battle rifles like they would an assault rifle. And I wanted to kind of take that approach of, okay, essentially it would be like me setting up an AR-15 platform with all of the attachments and gizmos and taking that and putting it on a 7.62x51. And what would be a good host for that? And of course, it's a SCAR video, so we're doing the SCAR 17. So why? Why would I do this? Well, as I sit upon this mountain here in Arizona, I have a massive sight line. I also am looking at other hills and mountains that are facing me, and so I can reach out to those hills if there were the Axis powers of my local HOA trying to kill me. Another reason is enhanced barrier penetration capabilities. That sounds like a lot of word salad. Enhanced barrier penetration capabilities. Bullet do more damage to wall. That was the goal, right? I wanted to say, okay, I can take a slug that's traveling really fast and I can defeat barriers better. As you saw in the wall demo, Arizona is also made up of a bunch of brick wall neighborhoods and compounds. So if the local HOA Axis powers were trying to get me there and they were, say, hiding behind some cover, I could turn what they thought was cover into concealment a lot quicker. On top of all of the reasons I could probably have, and this is probably the most important one, is I think that battle rifles are cool. I think they're awesome. I think they're so freaking sick. And I know it's a lot to be like, well, in today's modern day and age of practicality, why don't you want to carry more ammo with a 5.56? Because I feel cool. Let me have this. Hold your breath, Colton. Enjoy the concussion. All right, nerds, so real quick, we're gonna go over the stuff on the SCAR, a little bit of the thought process behind it. So we have the Huxworks 30 cal can, we got the extended rail to go over the 16-inch barrel. And then we have on the bottom of the rail, a little Picatinny slot for mounting a bipod on the fly. We got the Surefire Scout Light with a Mod Light head. Oh man, I lost the cover for my flashlight. 1 like equals 1 prayer. Then we have a knockoff Ingall. I know, it's kind of cringe, but it's kind of funny. Kind of funny, come on. And then we have the non-reciprocating charging handle. So I think the knockoff Ingall is still holding up. It's pretty high quality for being a knockoff, but I gotta be honest with you guys. I can't say I have a real Ingall when I don't. What sort of silly willy would I be? I'd be a silly Billy if that was the case. Now we got the Elcan 1-4 with an Acro P2 piggybacked on top of that. That's essentially it. We've got some Slate Black Industry rail panels on there just for the looks. We got a Larry Vickers style sling loop with the Blue Force gear adapter. Geisley trigger in there, and that is the build. Everything else is pretty bone stock. And did a little rattle can job to it. So I was chasing the battle rifle bug, right? I wanted to have a gun that felt like you're running an AR-15, just so happens to be a 30 cal or 7.62x51 if you want to go with that preference. It's kind of a very simple rundown. He's dead. He is so dead. Gentlemen, throughout this video, you've probably been seeing me wear some really drippy camo. And that's mainly because of Americana Pipe Dream Apparel. Fantastic young Zoomers getting after it in the Milsurp Space and Arena. This Aussie cam stuff I'm wearing right now, I didn't get it from them, but I do get a lot of my camos from Americana Pipe Dream Apparel, and who's to know what they have in the pipeline of cool camo. So if I were you, I'd be staying up to date with their website because they don't just have camo, they have a plethora of other items that will take your LARP to the next level. So of course we have to give a big thank you to Americana Pipe Dream Apparel. Now I really didn't harp on the IR setup for the SCAR 17. I went through a number of different iterations and thought processes. Something you didn't see on video that I did, I'll get to in a second, but originally I started off with the Somo Gear Ingall. Not the best choice, it doesn't like the recoil. Who would have thought? And then I went to the dual IR and then white light flashlight body setup. Didn't really like the idea of that. I figured I'd rather just stick with an IR aiming device, and that's why I got this Steiner D-Ball here, which of course I got from Optics Planet. Big thank you to Optics Planet, the optics sponsor of the channel. Code ADMIN gets you 7% off their whole deal over there, and I appreciate them greatly for helping out over here. And that pretty much covers where we're at now with the SCAR 17 IR setup. How are my splits? What was the time on that? So there was a lot that went into me running a gun in this thing to make a YouTube video now. As we sit here, I have shot and filmed with this gun over a span of months and have put thousands of rounds through it. and definitely learned a lot. A lot of that went into also building kit out around the Scar, because it's one thing to own a gun, but there's another thing to own kit that supports that weapons platform, and being a prepared citizen, that's also an important part. There's a little bit of kit changes that goes into when you start running a 7.62 platform, as long as considerations of how to carry as much ammo effectively as you can. There may be sacrifices in if you carry body armor on top of that, or if you just run some webbing and you can carry more ammo. There's a whole slew of that. I found one of the comfiest way to carry the most ammo, I can carry 11 Scar mags on me, was running a slick chest rig and some sort of load-bearing harness. I could carry 220 rounds of 7.62 x 51, which still not that much compared to how much I could carry of 5.56 if I was going that same route. I do want to give a disclaimer, because this is a firearms video, of how I got the Scar 17. Did FN send me a Scar, guys? Big ups in the chat for FN. No, absolutely not. I wish FN would have sent me a Scar. That would have helped out a bunch. Didn't happen. I purchased this with my own money, as well as some of the attachments I purchased with my own money as well for the firearm. Now, how could that affect me talking about the Scar? Could it introduce some bias where because I spent money, I want it to work? Nah, I don't think so. I'm still pretty harsh. I would say whether if I get a firearm for free or if I pay for it myself, I'm still gonna be pretty harsh, because I'd rather tell you guys and you get something out of it than try and protect my own ego. What did I learn about the Scar 17? Big takeaways is the gun is going to outperform me, myself, as the shooter. It's reliable, it's accurate. I was getting some pretty accurate groupings, like 1 MOA at 100 yards easy, using AAC 168 grains, the ammo sponsor of the channel. Big thank you to those guys for helping keep the LED lights on here. I'd encourage you to go check them out, because they do help us out here, and it does mean a lot. Now, like I said, the gun being accurate, great. It's gonna outperform me all day. I like to think I'm a good shooter, but I'm probably hella mid, all being said and done. Second, gun's very reliable. We had a nominal amount of malfunctions. There were malfunctions that happened. I believe we captured them on camera, but generally it was nothing catastrophic that a malfunction clearance couldn't solve. Sure, the Scar 17 is cool, but have you tried an FPV drone with an explosive payload?
I don't know how I'm gonna set up my kit.
I'm doing a version of myself.
I don't know how I'm gonna set up my kit. Do I do this with this, or should I do this?
And it's like, meanwhile, some dude with an FPV drone's like, good day. Let's see if your boy can make some impacts. Maybe the Elcan was cool for the vibes, but not practical shooting. Also, maybe I just suck. There she is. That's it. The Scar campaign never ends, brothers. It never ends. I'm gonna take a seated position. Well, so the Scar video has been never ending in the process, and I have decided to switch out the Elcan 1-4 for a Nightforce ATACR 1-8. I did cave. I was like, well, if I'm going to run a 308, might as well have some more magnification on it to get some more juice out of that round, and I am experiencing that. I will say probably ups the weight just a little bit, but it's not terrible. The gun is still pretty light for what it is. Now, the reason and the ultimate reason I decided to pull the trigger on the Nightforce is I went to a shooting competition that was hosted by Independence Training. Shout out to those guys. That was the IDARM. So on July 4th, they host a rifle match. Very fun. It was up in Flagstaff, and I was suffering. I was running 9 fully loaded Scar mags, 2 liters of water, and a bunch of other spare stuff on this same exact kit, and I was dying due to the elevation. It was a really good time, and on one of the stages, I absolutely wet the bed. I don't mind sharing this. I think I took home 14th.
How do you feel like you did overall? Like your rating, if you add 1 out of 10?
I feel like I did hella mid, probably like a 5.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
And the stage I wet the bed really cost me dearly. It was a stage where I just went full monkey art hard mode, and not only did I miss a target, but I couldn't find another target. It's fully on me, right? It's like, I can't blame the Scar. The Scar could have done it. I can't blame my weapon setup because I'm the idiot. That being said, when I couldn't find the other target, I just couldn't see it through the Elcan. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I so stupid? So I decided, all right, if that's gonna happen like that, if it's gonna do me dirty like that, I might as well get a Nightforce and hopefully pay that extra level and get the ability to see better. That was my thought process. How will it pan out? Well, I'll probably take another rifle match and see how it goes. Now, the pros and cons. I'll give you the pros first, because the gun does, in my mind, 3 things really well. Those 3 things would be weight, reliability, and accuracy. I'll give it to the Scar. The gun is very light. It's an 8-pound battle rifle without all of the stuff on it. It is very comfy and is very wieldy. When I'm moving around out here, you kind of forget that you even have a 7.62 gun. It's not that bad. All right, so you got the SCAR with all the attachments, no suppressor, no mag in the gun, weighing in around 11 pounds, give or take, depending on how I balance it. FAL, just the red dot, no mag, coming in a little bit heavier than the SCAR was in the ounces department. All right, so you got a PSA AR-10 with just optics set up with an LPBO and an offset red dot, no lights or lasers. Coming in lighter, no mag with 10 pounds. One of my personal favorites, HK91. It's got a whole optic setup. It's got a light on it, got a bipod, no mag, 13 pounds. No, it's definitely 13 pounds, looking around 13.8, 13.9 pounds. Lightweight, very comfy to wield and move. Not bad whatsoever, even with all this stuff on it. It's not the lightest weight weapon out there, but considering what it is, I give it mad props for that. Another thing would be reliability. The gun will run a lot. Now, if we build upon other YouTubers' experience, looking at, say, Garand, it did fail an ice test. But where do I live? I live in Arizona. It gets cold, probably like a 3-hour drive from here. Most of the year it is extremely hot. We do get monsoons and there is a bunch of dirt around, and the SCAR did pass the mud test. Yay. So in case if I find myself swept up in a very muddy situation, like a monsoon, and I get caught in a, a flash flood, I guess my SCAR will be okay for the most part. Now, if I find myself trudging along in the great Arctic, where I shouldn't be, as a desert rat, and I plunge through some cold water, and I let my gun get soaked, and it dries and gets really cold, I'm probably already dead, if I'm being honest. I am already dead for that to happen. I will not survive in the cold weather, my brother in Christ, I will not. The gun is very reliable. It was designed to just send round after round after round of M80 ball, or whatever 7.62x51 you want to use, downrange, and be used and abused. So I will give it that. Now, another thing would be recoil control and impulse. For a 7.62, the gun is very pleasant to shoot. It's not a crazy light impulse, but for what it is, very nice and controllable. The cons mainly all have to do with the price point. So this model retails for around $4,200 on FN's website. You add on the mags and then some aftermarket stuff, and you are getting pretty high up there. How I have it set up right now, I believe costs around 12 grand. So it's very expensive, all said and done. I am definitely not breaking even off this episode. Hey fellas, don't tell Mrs. Admin. So the gun is rather expensive. Mags are expensive, the gun itself is expensive, and all the stuff you throw into it helps void the warranty. On FN's website, a popular thing that's talked about is the suppressor, how the suppressor will void your warranty. Well, what people often forget to mention is aftermarket triggers and other parts will also void your warranty. For a gun that's $4,200, why can't I have a good warranty? Why, FN? Why? Maybe I'm just banking on the gun being super reliable, but knowing my luck, I have a high tendency of breaking weapons because I'm a big chimp. So it is a rather big gamble, my lord. That is a massive con. I don't know why FN in their infinite wisdom would not cover that warranty of the gun. Also, the price seems rather high for what the gun is. If I'm being kind of honest, yeah, it's light, it's accurate, it's reliable, it's pleasant to shoot because of the recoil impulse. Maybe that's why they feel justified charging so much. If the gun could be at a flat 3 grand, I'd be like, you know what? That's justifiable. Now, funny enough, if we compare the SCAR, one of the best 308 options on the market, to other 308 platforms in the same genre of trying to go the battle rifle route, like the Mars LMT or the Knights Armament SR25, stuff like that, the higher quality brands, SR25 is sitting around like 5 grand, depending on where you can find them, for like a 16-inch variant. The Mars is a little bit cheaper, could float around 3,800. That is something to be said when you start getting into the big boy calibers of the 7.62x51 or say 6.5 Creedmoor. The price of everything increases. The price of mags increase, the price of the gun increases, attachments increase, and then of course ammo. Now thankfully I've been blessed by the good Lord himself to bring forth an ammo sponsor so I can run this gun like a madman. But if you don't have that, then burning a bunch of cash on ammo is gonna get old really quick. Now if you can afford it, if you can afford all of this, it's pretty sick. It's pretty cool. I like it. I think it's neat. I'm not trying to justify my purchase. Does it sound like I'm sucking from the copium by trying to justify my purchase? Does it feel like that? No, I'm trying to be really reasonable. I think it's cool. I would tell you guys, I hate FN. I effing hate FN. Now, I think FN not having a good warranty is absolutely wild and dumb. I don't like that whatsoever. I would hope they would come out with a cool statement being like,
This is why we can't warranty your guns, because you put a suppressor and different aftermarket parts on a super reliable weapon. This is why.
I hope that would happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. So one thing about the SCAR that I need to acknowledge is some aftermarket components that you can kind of play with. So you can get a new lower that takes AR-10 mags. You can run that, as well as you can get different barrels for different chamberings, which is something that I'm considering to look into when it comes to 6.5 Creedmoor. It kind of piques my interest a little bit, but for now, we're still keeping it in a 308. Now, another thing that I do really appreciate about it is its simplicity in which it is to take it down. You get your lower right here. Then you got your stock. Oh, other way. There we go. There she goes. Now to get access to your guts, pull out got your spring right here. Charging handle fell out that side. Got this guy. Uh-oh. You gotta lock her forward first. There we go. So on the NCRH models, the non-reciprocating charging hand models, you wanna lock forward that charging handle. You can pull out your bolt. A lot of the other big YouTubers talk about, guys like Brandon Herrera or Grantham talk about how very reminiscent of an AK bolt. I don't see it.
Wrong.
Okay, I kind of see it. All right, I'll give him that. And then when it comes to doing barrel swaps and it comes to the operation of the gun, it is crazy how much is going on right here. So if you have a T25 head, you can pretty much take the rest of this gun down and swap barrels very quickly. So T25 head, take out your screws, you can swap out that barrel. Now inside this little chamber up here, you have your piston, which is hitting the bolt, and that's how everything operates. It's actually pretty wild when you do take the gun fully down. Sadly, I'm not gonna do it here, but when you take the gun fully down, it is a reminder to how very simple the whole thing is. One thing I was thinking about is this kind of like my generation's version of an FAL, where you have a much more updated version of a battle rifle that can do a lot of different things. This, of course, I would say is better than an FAL. I don't know if it's as vibey as an FAL, but I wanted to show that off real quick because I think it's cool, and I think it's cool how simple the gun is, and the more simple things are, the less likely, I should say, for dummies like me to mess things up. So I do appreciate that. As cool as I think guns like the G11 are, I think having a watch inside of my gun would lead to me breaking it. So there is that. So I think another reason why I wanted to check out the SCAR H was because of the Army. So the Army picked up the SIG Spear chambered in 6.8x51, which that thing is pretty sick. 13-inch gun, absolutely sending out those rounds at a massively high velocity. Those rounds I think are way better than the 308, of course. I don't have a SIG Spear yet, and I definitely don't have one chambered in 6.8 or the 277 Fury round, right? I would love to have that. I think I would take that over this. Oh my God, look at that turtle. Hi, guy. Big guy chilling. No, that's a desert tortoise. What would Steve Irwin do in this situation? What a handsome devil. Maybe it's a girl.
Huh?
I love nature. It's funny enough, I'm wearing Australian camo too. Crikey, look at the size. What a ripper. Ain't she a beaut? I'm in the Arizona desert and I just found the elusive desert tortoise. So I think it's an interesting trend that the Army is trying to return to the battle rifle. Time's a flat circle. I think that's really interesting. So I myself thinking, okay, what do I have access to as a civilian? Yes, I have access to the SIG Spear, but all the ones I can get my hands on for the most part are all chambered in 308. So I thought it'd be kind of redundant. I don't want a SIG Spear chambered in 308. I'd rather just get the SCAR H chambered in 308. If I can get the SIG Spear chambered in 277 Fury or the 6.8, whatever round you want to call it, I would be much more apt to try that for a go-to style battle rifle. Now, I am curious with the military trying this out, if they're just gonna revert back to running 5.56. If I was a betting man, I would bet that. Even for myself, if the world was ending and the Axis power of the HOA were parajumping into my neighborhood, would I grab the SCAR H? It'd be tough, right? I'd step outside, I'd see all the parachutes from the Axis power of the HOA, run back inside of my gun safe, open it up, I'm looking at my go-to AR, I'm looking at my go-to SCAR H, what do I do? What do I do? High likelihood, I would probably grab the 5.56 gun that I can carry a massive amount of ammo with. But with the SCAR H, there's now a high probability I'd also go with that kit and running that. So it's kind of a toss-up now. I really enjoyed the journey with the gun. I enjoyed trying to get nitty gritty with it and shoot it a bunch, as well as just kind of living with the gun. So gentlemen, in conclusion, where are we at with the Scar H? Ultimately, the gun is good, it's expensive. That's the big TLDR. Is it the right gun for you? That mainly comes down to your finances and not putting yourself into credit card debt with it, or do it. I would say don't do that, but you are your own adult. I can't stop you. I exist in your computer or smartphone or tablet device. I am not real. I'm a figment of your imagination. Ultimately, I was never a big believer in the Scar H platform. I just didn't care. I was never a guy that was like, wow, the Scar H is the gun for me. I'm a big Car 15 guy. I'm a big H car guy, and now I'm a big Scar H guy. Who would have thought? But ultimately, this video did open my eyes to how much I do like the Scar H now. It has grown on me, even though it is an expensive gun, and it's expensive to shoot, and everything about it is expensive. That being said, it's still pretty sick. Yet again, I will say the Scar is pretty cool if you don't have some dude in your ear telling you it's not. Gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tuning in to another episode of Administrative Results where I yap about guns. I have nothing else for you. We'll catch you on the flip.
Ooh, piece of brass. Ooh, piece of brass. Ooh, piece of brass. Ooh, piece of brass.
Lord of the Plains.